Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Are the Batman. I got my boy Mike here. Say what's up.
What's up?
And I'm Matt. You guys want to call me? And today we're doing something kind of fun because every so often I get to introduce somebody to a book or a comic or a movie, and it's always just cool as hell when you're able to do that. And that book is what, Mike?
That is Batman the Cult.
Yes. From 87, 88? I think it's around that time. I forgot to look at what date.
1988. 1988.
1988. So this is kind of, if you don't mind me doing a little bit of history,
Please.
as far as from my memory, is like this is when like Batman the Dark Knight Returns has just happened. Batman Year One has just happened. The more mature graphic novels are kind of becoming a thing. And this is one of those that comes kind of at the tail end of that before you get into the 90s and the graphic novel disappears for a while.
Yeah, this is one that I had not read until you introduced it to me not too long ago. You were like, dude, you really need to look at this. And looking at the cover alone, just, Batman's hand on a bloody manhole cover. It's like, you're in for something a little bit different. And even just the title, The Cult, lets you know, again, being in the time where this is coming out with, the Dark Knight Returns and all that, you're going to be in for something darker, heavier, and a little more messed up.
Yeah, and the big thing too is like it's kind of interesting because this is the time when the Batman comic, like it has every so often some 4 or 5 issue connective stories, but something like this or Dark Knight Returns, they're their own separate comic.
Yeah.
Like a completely side comic, but it's not its own. It's not like an Elseworlds thing where like nowadays it seems like every other Batman's miniseries is an Elseworlds of a different Elseworlds, and you don't know what's happening.
Right.
But this was like just an extended story. But like year 1, year 2, year 3, they're just part of the actual physical Batman comic series. So there's, because of that, they're what's called a prestige comic. So they get a little adult. And this one definitely, I mean, it's a little kind of bland as far as that pushing that envelope nowadays. But in 88, you did not have a religious cult leader as a villain in a comic. You didn't have, people being murdered viciously, I might add, in a comic. So that was something that definitely surprised me about this book. But I was also, similar to you, like attracted by the covers.
Well, also in this time, you didn't have your hero falling quite like Batman does in this. I mean, Batman, has a fall from grace for a period where, he's brainwashed. He is taken in by this cult and he is trying to find his way out of it. But yeah, around this time, and and we talked briefly in another episode about the things that Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams were bringing to comics and having them be taken a bit more seriously. And this is definitely a product of that idea of touching on darker, more adult, more sensitivity testing themes in your comic books as much as you could.
Well, and it's also even creepier in my opinion of like, this is before David Koresh, but there still had been a lot of cults out there. So, I feel like we should probably get a little bit into what the story is actually about so that I can kind of explain this. Is that you have this cult leader who essentially sets himself up as a homeless shelter, and through that homeless shelter makes himself the leader of the homeless. So this down and trodden group of people that every city has, he suddenly builds into an army. And he does it under the radar because it just looks like any soup kitchen or homeless shelter. So you just have this moment of like, once you get that kind of group of people together and you get them all thinking the same and whether it's through drugs or just through their own insecurities about life or PTSD or whatever it is, suddenly you have an army that is easily has nothing to lose because they feel like they're nothing, and he can just manipulate them any way he wants.
And that idea that they have nothing to lose is what does it. That's how you get so many people in this state on this side, is because it's a group of people that have been on the wrong side of things. They've felt the boot heel of the world a few too many times. And on top of having nothing to lose, they also feel like they have everything to gain. And so
yes,
it makes all the sense in the world that they would fall privy to, which, by the way, we're talking about Deacon Blackfire, who is the leader of this cult. Anybody who hasn't read this might know his character from the Batman Arkham Knight video game, in a very short piece, side mission piece that is an absolute waste of time and does no justice to this character whatsoever. There was potential there, but they completely squandered it. But that being said, it's Deacon Blackfire, and you completely understand how he's able to just prey on this hopelessness and provide. When you offer hope to those that have none, you're going to have them hook, line, and sinker.
Well, and I would even dare say that the premise of this book would make its own amazing Arkham game kind of style. I mean, I don't know if you'd call it Arkham the Cult or whatever, but I mean, just having the navigating of all of these things, I think would be amazing in a game format. But I digress. We're talking about the comic.
Right. Well, and I think it's worth mentioning too that part of this storyline is also what acted as an inspiration to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises. You can draw very distinct parallels between what happens with Bane and his team of the League of Shadows taking over Gotham the way they do, the whole "we're giving Gotham back to you, the people" kind of thing, with Batman being AWOL for another time. I mean, there's a absolute direct correlation there. Maybe it was a happy accident, maybe that was actually part of what Christopher Nolan took as inspiration. Either way, you can definitely draw the parallels there.
Yeah, because I mean, it is also that weird, like, the place no one's going to go. Are the cops really going to go into the sewer to try and find a bunch of people? The homeless people being gone, does anybody really care or notice? And the thing with that situation is, by the time you realize something's wrong, it's too late.
Yeah. And it's such a
and then of course, like, go ahead.
No, sorry. So you froze there for a second. So I thought you were done. It's a kind of getting back to like what I was saying earlier, was like, when you take, it's not every day we get to see Batman in this state of hopelessness that he is in this one. It's not every day we get to see Batman with a sense of vulnerability, and just again feeling that we've seen Batman question himself and what he's doing and whether or not what he's doing is working, but to see him completely just give up like this is not something. And of course we find out later on it was, he was drugged and things like that, but still, like, to see because I think Denny O'Neil was one of the people writing on this one. I know he worked on it, but to see just this idea that even someone as grounded and what's the word I'm looking for, just kind of who usually has his bearings about him, like Batman, could fall like this.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing of it is this is where I can remember reading this, because I read it probably within a year after it came out. The graphic novel uncharacteristically was released relatively fast after the book series was over. And the big thing what shocked me is, it's one thing to gather homeless people, but the fact that you are able to get somebody as powerful or as able as Batman on your team, now there's, like, I would say there's no stopping you, but you've got the ultimate fighter, the ultimate weapon in your cult. Like, you just have to unleash him and let him do his thing. That's where I kind of go, like, man, that's just nuts to think that and they just treat him like crap anyway. It's not like they treat him any differently, but I would just, yeah, I kind of crack up at like, man, you guys had somebody who could really do some damage, and you just put him in the rest of the flock.
Well, it does seem like at one point they never confirm what his involvement was, but there's a couple of times where he kind of comes out of it after they had just gotten done raiding someplace or attacking someplace or whatever. And Batman kind of questions himself, like, oh God, like what role did I play in this? It's never made clear. So there is an implication that Batman may have done some harm while under their influence.
Oh yeah, he killed somebody. There's one of the moments where you're just like, no, he killed that guy. Now, did that guy instantly die and somebody else stepped in and finished the job? Who knows? But I mean, he's swinging the axe with everybody else. Now, in his mind, it was Joker, but he's definitely responsible for a few, not quite the Batfleck level of deaths, but he definitely I think he definitely killed a couple people.
And I think that again it just speaks to that idea that we were mentioning earlier, that those things that Denny O'Neil and comic writers in general in this time were looking to implement was the idea that even your greatest heroes can take a left turn. We saw that in The Dark Knight Returns, and we would see that. That's a theme that we would continue to see up to modern day, where you see things like the Injustice storyline, or the idea is introduced in The Killing Joke, that it just takes one bad day, and this was, we all think that there was one bad day and that's what made Bruce Wayne turned into Batman, but then Batman himself had one bad day and it turned him into a cult member for an extended period of time that almost resulted in all of Gotham being completely just turned into a wasteland.
Yeah. It's definitely a harrowing story. It's definitely, it's, to me, like, they call him Deacon Blackfire, but there's not really a lining up exactly of what religion he is a part of. But so that's where part of me goes, like, could you do this now? Could you tell this as a story, as a movie, as a direct to DVD, or translate a game? Or would the Christian / religious community suddenly go like, whoa, why are we the villains? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the fear that I would have in the idea of if they were to like could I see Robert Pattinson's Batman dealing with a Deacon Blackfire like this? 100%. I absolutely could. I don't see that particular storyline sitting well with audiences, especially with kind of the way things are these days, with the way how reactionary people tend to be. If you put any kind of religious zealot as whoever the villain's going to be, anybody who subscribes to that particular religion at large is going to have a big problem with it. We see that all the time. Anytime there's a movie that depicts anyone of an Islamic religion or of the Jewish of any faith as a villain, we see it happen. And Lord knows that there are far more vocal members of various Christian faiths out there who would take him. And we live in the United States, and it's, that tends to be kind of the majority. And so there would definitely be a large, especially if you look at the New 52, because when Deacon Blackfire was reintroduced in the New 52, he was a Christian evangelist. He was very much a Christian evangelist. And even in this version of Deacon Blackfire, he wears the black top with the white collar of any Catholic or Christian priest you would see. So they'd be very hard pressed. I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but it would be very difficult to adapt this storyline or this character specifically to anything in a film without drawing it. Just I can already see just all the studio people look at this going like, this is going to piss off too many people, which is why I think you get
and you
Dark Knight Rises, where it's same storyline, but let's go with Bane and the League of Shadows, because then there's no religious pull to it. It's purely a, criminal organization.
Well, and you also get into like there is a supernatural element to him. Like there is hints throughout the story that he not that he's immortal, but that he's been around a while. So
100 years, I think.
Could you? Yeah. So could you play with the idea that this is just his current, method of trying to take over Gotham more so than he's actually a priest doing this thing? And would that maybe allow you to skirt, quote unquote persecution from the religious community because it's not technically just some evil priest?
Yeah, but at that point, then I say you just wind up doing Ra's al Ghul again. You're right. Yeah. Which again, I mean, there's a lot of similarities in the way they work. The difference is like Deacon Blackfire is straight up drugging and brainwashing people. Ra's al Ghul is offering people, people who are desperate, a way to basically get revenge. Basically, who are people who are seeking vengeance or some ill-fated form of justice. But yeah, if you're going to remove the religious aspect or alter the religious aspect to make it tamer at that point, it's like, well, then just do Ra's al Ghul. And we've had 3 versions of Ra's al Ghul in the last 10 years between the Nolan verse, what they did on Arrow, and what they did on Gotham. I don't think anyone's necessarily jonesing for another take on Ra's al Ghul right now. I think everyone's like, he's kind of like the Joker, where it's like, okay, we've had a lot of this recently. Can we try something a little bit different?
Yeah, that's very true.
But
very true.
The focus on the comic itself, though, now that we've sidetracked quite a little bit, I think it's also worth noting, like, this is in the time where like they were still writing Jason Todd stories. And Jason Todd wasn't a widely popular character, but in this one, he really I think this is one of those moments where they showed why Jason was, for the most part, a decent Robin. He wasn't the best Robin, but there was a reason why he was Robin. And I think this really showed.
Yeah, you actually get to see him. And this is where, I think the first discussions of this story was, it's really weird seeing a late teenager in the Robin costume, because yeah. And this is, one of those weird storylines where like it almost could have just been Dick Grayson as well, because he's in it, but it's not like his personality is such that you can lock down who he is, besides the fact that, Batman says Jason, it calls him Jason.
Yeah.
But no, he's the one who actually saves Batman. He goes and finds him and pulls him out and gets him out of the situation. I mean, I think Batman's already getting away by the time he finds him, but yeah, he's the one who's, trying to save him. So I think this is that weird thing of like Robin starts not being just the little kid sidekick who is the damsel in distress. Like Batman has to help him a couple times, but it's not out of like, oh, you're just a little kid and that's your story arc.
Well, yeah, because I mean, Jason's the one who gets him out. Like Jason's the one who gets him out and gets his head right. The only reason Batman has to help Jason at any point is because it's the two of them versus like 50. And it's like, okay, yeah, like that's too much for anybody. So getting to see Jason as an older teen, as a Robin that can hold his own finally. But also, until he calls him Jason, you could assume this was Dick Grayson. I mean, it's simple. So, and then to see how like when you get to the end of it, when they're like, we're going back into Gotham, we're retaking the city, and Jason's just like, yeah, no, let's do it. I'm in. Like, let's make this happen. He's not, I don't know, we should, like kind of the things you usually associate with Jason, kind of the whole, just like, look, man, like, kind of that hopelessness again, like that idea of Jason just saying, screw it. Like, we're in over, let's just move on. You didn't have that. This was a Jason who was more on Batman's side than I think we ever really got from Jason Todd a lot. Because a lot of times with Jason Todd, it always felt like they were either writing him with just throwaway Dick Grayson dialogue, or he was, confrontational to Batman. He wasn't along for the ride as much as Dick Grayson was. So it was a neat take.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And then I think my favorite part of the book, which is horrible because I'm a horrible human being, is when he finally has their final confrontation and you just see Batman beat somebody down the way you've never seen him beat somebody down.
Yeah. He because he made Batman vulnerable, and Batman doesn't like to be vulnerable. And it was like Blackfire was going to get his ass kicked just for doing this to people. But Batman's like, you did this to me. And like, now I know firsthand how unpleasant this is. You are a fucking monster. Like, I think had he, because I think Jason's the one that ends up kind of pulling him off of him, because I think he was ready to just straight up kill Blackfire. Blackfire pushed him closer to the edge than Joker had at that point. Because if anything, Blackfire did to Batman what Joker was never able to do, which is that he made him break.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Without going nuts and killing other people, he just broke him and just, had him on the team. It was crazy, and a great moment of like, nope, usually I fight people, stop them. I'm just going to try and hurt this guy. And just like, oh yeah, Batman does have that knowledge, and look at him go.
Batman wanted him to feel some pain, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you for getting me onto this one, for sending me the copies, the 4 issues, the 4 copies of this to read. As soon as I started, I couldn't put it down. I mean, I just flip. I want to shout out to Bernie Wrightson, who did the art for this. The art is incredible. Amazing artwork. Jim Starlin did write it. Denny O'Neil was actually one of the editors, along with Dan Rasper. And then John Costanza and Bill Ray did the lettering and the coloring. This is, if you have not read Batman the Cult, as a lifelong Batman fan who read this for the first time within the last month, I cannot recommend this. If you like your Batman dark and gritty and a little bit on the farther side of being kind of a nut job, like Batman kind of secretly is deep down, give this one a watch or a read, especially if you're someone who hated the Deacon Blackfire side quest in Arkham Knight like I did. Give this one a shot, because you might find yourself with a character that's incredibly far more interesting than that game made him out to be, other than just some religious zealot who kidnaps a reporter. Like it shows you how dangerous this guy actually can be, and how just kind of terrifying he is. And yeah, I cannot recommend this enough.
Same. It is the book that anytime somebody asks me what's your favorite graphic novel, it's this. And of course, I always follow with, have you read it? And it's surprising to me how few people have. It really is.
Yeah, it's not one I'd ever heard of before, and that tells you something about how much of a lesser known run it is. It's because I read a lot of Batman, and this is one that I just never even crossed my table. And so it's always nice to find out that the world of comics, especially with Batman, is so vast that there's still things out there that can surprise you.
Well, and the other thing too, what I noticed is it's out of print. Like the graphic novel that I read, it hasn't been in print for decades. It's like they made that original print run and they've never done it again. I couldn't find a graphic novel to send you for less than $60.
It was insane.
It was cheaper for me to buy the comics issues and send them to you than it was to try and find the graphic novel.
I wonder if because we mentioned how this probably wouldn't get a lot of love from people because of the whole religious thing. I wonder if that was a part of it, the decision to not keep it in print. Like, I wonder if like maybe there was just like enough pushback that they were kind of like, okay, fine, like we'll just and maybe that applied to sales. I don't have any information on like how it sold, but like I wonder if that was a factor as well.
I don't know, or it's just been like it's one of those storylines. It's just some of these, especially the older ones of that time frame. Like, look, how many people have actually read Arkham Asylum? You know,
True.
how many people have? They know the games, but not a lot of people have not read that graphic novel either. There's a lot of those older graphic novels that just have kind of been lost to the sands of time and under the weight of stuff like Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, or Batman Year One, where these things are so great and people just forget about these other stuff.
Yeah, because I'm looking online right now. You can get it digitally, but in print, it only lists Barnes and Noble, and then when you click the link to go there, it doesn't have any results. So it's, I mean, yeah, and then like you said, you can find you can find a paperback on Amazon for, let's see, $80, or a hardcover one used starting at $741, which, look, man, I liked reading this, but not $800 worth. So that's ridiculous on a whole lot of levels. But if you get the chance to check out, if you find a way to, I guess, digitally, or if you want to spend $800, get yourself a copy of Batman the Cult, or order the individual issue, whatever you got to do. Cannot recommend this one enough. So thank you again, Matt, for getting me onto this one, so that we could talk about it on here, because this was a great read.
I'm glad I could open the door to stuff like this. You're going to get more recommendations. May not be Batman, but we're going to have some fun. Have you read Arkham Asylum?
It's been a while, but yeah, I've read it. I think I read it after I played the game Arkham Asylum, because I think I was looking online to see if it was based on a comic run or not, and it wasn't. But yeah, I've read Arkham Asylum. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Did you ever read the last Arkham?
I don't think I read the last Arkham. I read a lot of comics, man.
That's the first 6 issues of the what the heck was that? Shadow of the Batman was the series that it was the first 6 issues of Shadow of the Batman, and it's about Batman getting, like, actually he kills a cop, and they take him to Arkham Asylum and start like trying to, the current guy who's the head of Arkham Asylum starts trying to like diagnose him and put him through the paces and try to figure out, like, get into his head and really put him through all that. And then you find out later that he's actually there to find out what's going on inside Arkham.
I feel like Batman the Animated Series did an episode loosely based on that. That sounds familiar.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because this one was Mr. Zsasz is the main villain.
Okay.
So
see, I feel like in the animated one was where, like, I think it was all a thing from Scarecrow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, Dreams in Darkness. It says notes loosely based on Batman: The Last Arkham and of Batman: Shadow of the Bat 1 through 4. Okay, yeah, so cool. Gotcha. All right, look at that. Look at that. Look at us learning and connecting things.
You got more homework, bro.
Well, I'm gonna go do my homework. Matt's gonna go do, I don't know, assign me more homework, and we want to know what you guys think. Have you read Batman the Cult? Is it one that you would want to check out? And if you do check it out, let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter, or you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Mike Shea.
And me at Mr. J Ninja.
So go read some comics, go enjoy some Batman stuff, and we'll see you guys here again at some point. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
That is correct.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.